We are entering a new era of the human operating system. In 2025, all the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, are all changing signs. So that's unheard of.
I really do feel like there's this like mathematical, magnetic, divine orchestration that is giving every single soul in this human form exactly what they need to evolve.
Astrology is a shorthand to give you back to yourself, and then you can go back and do all the rest.
Welcome to the Heal with Kelly podcast. I'm Kelly Noonan-Goris, and every week I speak to the leading doctors, healers, spiritual teachers, and scientists to find out what is truly possible when it comes to healing. I also interview real people with extraordinary healing stories. My philosophy is, what's possible for one is possible for all. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful journey of remembering our divine nature and tapping into the truths that shall set us free.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Heal with Kelly podcast. I am your host, Kelly Goris, and today I am super excited, as I always am, but really like double super excited to welcome my dear friend, Debra Silverman, to the show. We are going to talk all things astrology because we don't believe in astrology. Just kidding, we do, but that's the name of her new book. I don't believe in astrology.
I love that so much because we don't believe in astrology.
We know in astrology. Let me tell you a little bit about Debra Silverman. If you don't know, she's an astrologer, a psychotherapist, a spiritual guide, and an author, and she brings hope. With our planet longing for compassion and guidance in these very unusual times, Debra brings her master's degree in clinical psychology, plus her humor, wisdom, and honesty to soothe the collective pain body, which is throbbing in pain right now. Debra is the author of The Missing Element and her new book, I Don't Believe in Astrology, which is out this month, April 2025, we're in March now, but it'll be out when you hear this. And founder of a school educating more than 7,000 people in astrology. Debra's also the host of the I Don't Believe in Astrology podcast. Debra is madly in love with astrology, as you can tell. It's medicine for the soul. And while there is no one-size-fits-all approach, Debra has developed a unique psychological spiritual model based on the 4 elements in tandem with astrology. So much to discuss. Welcome, Debra.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, gosh. And are you in Hawaii right now? I feel like you live part-time.
I live in Hawaii in the winters and in Colorado in the summer.
What a great balance. I think you nailed it.
I did. I'm in love with both places I live in, and I'd never want to leave the one to get to the next one. So that's a good sign.
That's a good sign. I'll be heading your way in a week from now. I'm going to the Big Island.
Oh, that's beautiful. Aloha.
Yeah, I need Hawaii in my life, as you know from my chart, I'm sure.
Because you've got a grand trine in water, and where else to be on an island where the water is all around us?
That's right. That's right. So I think, first of all, I love the name of your new book. I Don't Believe in Astrology. For all the skeptics out there, I mean, I've always dabbled in, astrology. I'm obsessed with the stars. I still remember a report I did in 2nd grade on the constellations, and I was like, I'm going to be an astronomer. But I think astrology is one of those ancient technologies given to us by, you can share who, and it is so accurate when it describes, gets us back to who we are. And I think, part of awakening, the biggest part is knowing thyself. And astrology gives us kind of the map to that. And I've been really leaning in the last couple years because they've been really intense years. And I find astrology is so accurate and right on and such a guiding force in my life.
And do you know that May 25th, Saturn enters Aries? Because I know you're in Aries. So over the next 2.5 years, you, Aries, everybody listening, it's a time of really, really strong discipline and manifestation. I call it womanfestation because it's always about the women. But your chart, I just had to throw that out because you're only 4 degrees of Aries. You're born right at the beginning. And Saturn is entering Aries for the first time in 30 years. And Saturn brings discipline, and it requires us to focus and to really put our eyes on where we're aiming and stay the course, as compared to your moon in Pisces, who gets confused and changes her mind and doesn't really know what she's doing. And then Saturn in Aries goes, excuse me, Kelly, you said you were going to do this, so be prepared.
Okay.
It's mostly, you're going to feel it in the middle of 2025, but really strong in 2026. Thanks, Deb. Got a little reading right at the beginning. Tell them about the reading that you and I did and how we met.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I think, did we meet because of Julianne Hough? Is that how?
Yes, yes.
And I remember I first heard about you back in the Danica Patrick and Aaron Rodgers days because Danica and I share the same birthday, which I wanted to talk about because we have different risings and all of that. So it gets really specific. And for all of those listening who aren't really familiar with astrology, it's where the planets were aligned when based on and the stars and everything based on where you were born and in time and space. So
It's
that's how
snapshot.
specific it is.
The astrologer runs out of the room as soon as you're born, takes a snapshot of the heavens and tattoos it because it never changes. And it's the imprint or the access point for me to say, oh, Kelly, now I know what your life lesson is. Now I want you're a perfectionist, Saturn and Virgo. Now I know what your personality is like as an Aries. Uh-oh, your rising sign is Cancer. It's water, fire and water. Uh-oh. So it gives a language to describe the internal tapestry or the nature of your inner world and all the pieces that are woven together. And then all of a sudden, it's a permission slip because you suddenly feel so much better about yourself when you realize it was all written in the stars.
Totally. And, I didn't really get into it until after I did heal. And then all signs point to like, you're supposed to be in the world of healing, but you're not a hands-on healer. You're a healer that teaches through learning or learns through experience and then teaches. And that's like exactly where I fell into. So it is so accurate. It's wild. Um, so where were we going with that? Oh, the next 2 years, again, accuracy. Like we're launching a platform, like a business, May, June, which is when Saturn enters Mars or whatever, Aries.
Saturn enters Aries.
And then I'm also embarking on my next film project, which is going to be a docuseries, and it's probably going to take that 2 year window. So I am like hyper focused
Oh my goodness.
on creativity and production and output right now.
Yes, and the big practice of Saturn is to remember who you work for. Like put your attention on your spiritual self and say, okay, it's going to require a lot of focus and a lot of work. But if you know who you work for and you're in love with your boss, it's super easy to go to work.
Okay. And who's my boss?
Your
The
boss is spirit.
spirit. Okay. I wanted to make sure we're on the same page there.
Who's my boss? Are you my boss? Oh, wait a minute. Let me figure this out. Hold on a minute. Oh, that's right. I work for Spirit and I made a movie to include thousands and thousands of people to understand the spiritual value of healing. That was you, Kelly.
Oh yeah, I remember now. Thank you. Okay, so I don't believe in astrology. Why did you name your book that and your
It's
podcast
the funniest sentence I've ever heard. If I could get a nickel for every time someone told me, I have this memory. I haven't even told the story yet because everyone keeps asking how the book title happened, but I'm going to tell you the story. I have a cousin and her husband. My cousin's always believed in astrology. Her husband's very straight and very wealthy, and he walked up to me and he said, did you drink the Kool-Aid? Because now my wife's drinking it. I don't believe in that stuff. I was like, did I drink the Kool-Aid? I manufacture the Kool-Aid. What are you talking about? Like, I am the girl that makes the Kool-Aid. So if every person that said to me, the closed-minded non-believers, which are less and less these days, because we've got to look up right now, because what's going on the horizontal level is so disruptive. But on the vertical level, you can totally count that every single day the sun moves in 1 degree increments, and every single day the moon, it's completely predictable across all time. So while we can't rely on anything back on this level of the human, nor should we, because it's a really uncomfortable, rocky time, we can count on those beautiful celestial bodies that are totally consistent.
Yes. And I read something recently, like if we had 13 months, like our moon cycles, everything would be so perfectly
Oh no,
like,
that's the Mayan calendar. The Mayan is 13-day weeks. Did you know that?
and then some dude came in and made it this Julian calendar or whatever with 12 months, and
Julian.
it screwed up our whole cycle. It's like we would be 28-day cycles, the moon, the menstruation, everything would be aligned if we had 13 months. But some numbskull came along and
It's the same guy that told women they should give birth with their legs sticking up in the air. Who made that up? Like gravity in your favor, sir. Can we just do it the way we've always done it? Somehow, somewhere, the interruption, that's very funny. The interruption occurs where the human psyche interrupts with a willful thought that will skip leap year. We won't even, we'll put this crazy thing that every 4 years we'll change the dates. I just think it's so funny. This year, February has 28. This year, February has 27. This year, I can't even remember.
Isn't that crazy? Just make it 13 months for God's sake. Can't we just like go back? Anyways, that'll be our next mission. So
That's what's happening. Announcement. We are entering a new era of the human operating system. That's what my book is about.
okay.
We are in a dated system. And the way that the mind operates, my first half of my book is about the design faults of the human psyche with compassion. Like, yeah, we do crazy things. We tell people to do stuff that doesn't make any sense at all. But the stars are reliable and they're wise and they're trustworthy. So while the system of the human condition needs to get updated, we have to unplug all the parts of our psyches that's kind of tilted and bring ourselves back to what we know for sure. And what do we know for sure? We know for sure the sun's coming up.
We do know that the sun always rises and until it doesn't. No, I'm kidding.
It'll
Um,
always rise.
it
You
will
can
always rise.
trust that. We're talking billions of years. There'll come a time. Everything has an expiration date.
And how do you explain, like, I'm all about divine orchestration. I have gotten to a place, especially this year, it kind of solidified in January with all that going on with fires and then my Bufo journey. But like, I am crystal clear that everything is unfolding perfectly and as it's meant to, and just divinely orchestrated by consciousness, spirit, source, God, universe, whatever term you want to say. And so it seems like timing of birth and people's personalities, it's like, even if you're even to the effect of like someone inducing and seemingly advancing or controlling a timeline, it's actually that is all controlled by source as well. So like,
But I was induced. Yes, my chart, I was 3 weeks late. I was supposed to be a Taurus, which would have been hysterical because all I do is talk to the Gemini, and I was induced. But I just want to take a minute. Everything is perfect. I have a real problem with that sentence, but coming from you, who just went through the fires, who turned it all positive, you're allowed to say that. Because so many people use spiritual terms that I challenge. Like I'm kind of like the sassy little girl that goes, "Come on, you really believe that?" But coming from you, having gone through what you just went through, that you can see the perfection in that unbelievably scary experience. That's amazing, Kelly.
thank you. I really do feel like there's this like mathematical, magnetic divine orchestration that is giving every single soul in this human form exactly what they need to evolve. And we may take a few, it might start with a whisper, and if we're not listening, it might like tap on the shoulder and then, like freaking hit over the head by a 2x4, more painful, 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 but we're gonna get the lessons that we need. And yeah, so that's the perfection.
If anyone listening to this, everyone listening to this, if you believed that your life was being orchestrated by a divine influence and you're right on schedule, and that the lessons are being stalked. You're being constantly stalked by lessons. I've been obsessed with the tarot cards over the last 4 months. I've just written a booklet. If you get my book, I'm giving it away for free. And that's such a clear description about how you pull the card and it's always the right card for the day and it's always giving you information. That orchestration, the organization that's occurring in the higher intelligence brought to us by astrology or the tarot or the I Ching or your dreams, there's all these right brain functions that have like have you watched the telepathy tapes?
I've listened to the first 3 episodes. Yeah.
Wait till you get to number 9.
Oof.
You have to keep going. Don't stop, you little Pisces moon. Keep going.
Okay. I know.
But here's what happens. They have validated in no uncertain terms. I listened to all of them. They have validated in no uncertain terms that there's another level of consciousness that occurs in the name of telepathy. And it's always happening. For some people, they're intuitive, they're psychic. They get these imprints, they get these impressions. But some of you listening like to hear words. Why are you on a podcast? Because you've got a lot of air. And the mind is a dangerous, hard-hatted area because it's got things fall. You get confused. I don't really know. And then when you drop into the intuition, into the knowing, like I feel it in you, like your grand trine in water has given you such a profound sense of knowing. Not all of us have that. And that is a really developed skill that comes as a soul evolves.
Yeah, thank you.
It's clear in your eyes. Yeah. Just the level of your passion, Kelly.
Wild. It's crazy.
Wow, how excited you get over nothing.
I know. Same with you. I can reflect that right back to you.
I know because we both have your sun's in Aries and my moon's in Aries. So I do have same
I
quality.
love it. I want to talk about we're gonna go into 17,000 different directions, but I want to talk about the uniqueness of this year and all the planetary alignment or reshifting or whatever that is that you can explain because it's like hasn't happened ever or it's rare in thousands of years or whatever. And then also someone told me I think that 6 planets were in retrograde when I was born, and like an astrologer that's been working for 40 years has never seen that. Um,
It's true.
so like what does that say about me? Like, do I thrive when planets are
Which
retrograding?
way do
Like,
we go? Do we go to the upcoming year and all the interesting planets, or do we go to Kelly and her crazy chart? Which one? You get to pick.
you tell me, let's go with the overarching year and then we can say what it means like
Okay.
retrograde. Yeah.
So it is true. It's never happened before. We've looked as astrologers and it's never happened before. In 2025 and 2026, so we got to get clear. In 2025, all the outer planets from Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and well, Saturn starts with Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are all changing signs. So that's unheard of because Pluto spends about 20 years in one sign. And then Neptune spends about 15 years in one sign, and Uranus spends about 10 years in one sign, and Saturn spends 2.5 years in one sign. So there's moving, but Pluto is so slow. In a whole year, Pluto only moves 3 degrees. Can you
Wow.
imagine? So it
Yeah.
just stands there. It hardly moves. It's like, I don't know, you feel like it's stuck. So on the other hand, Saturn every 2.5 years moves. So all of them are moving through the circle, but at the same time, this year they all change signs. So the simple version before we get technical is the word change is in the air. Oh, surprise, shocking. Once you realize that the first entrance was November 19th, 2024, Pluto entered Aquarius. And with the entrance of Pluto in Aquarius, Pluto is the planet that moves so slow. It's very intense. It rules the underbelly. It's kind of like an Italian director who wears sunglasses and walks in the room. You're like, who's that? He don't talk. He just looks through his glasses. He's very unfriendly. He's very intense. And he's just entered. He left Capricorn over the last 20 years. He changed government. He was in Capricorn and he left in November. He left Capricorn after 20 years of really radically changing our system around what would be democracy and what will our society look like on this planet. Think about it. All of government right now is at the effect of Pluto having left Capricorn. We are now considering letting go of democracy. I mean, I know there'll be a fight. Please let there be a fight. But there's no question that we are in a radical change. Then it entered Aquarius. What is Aquarius? It's the future. It's everything to do with technology. It's everything to do with dealing with AI and ETs. These are two initials that weren't in my grandmother's vocabulary. This is Pluto and Aquarius. What is ETs? Oh, that's right. Now it's UAPs. Everyone, I mean, I don't know about you. I'm obsessed with them. Maybe it's just on my feed, on my scrolling. I keep finding them everywhere. But the truth is the conversation has come to it actually went to the Senate and there was testimony given by whistleblowers to say, I was too scared to say this. This is why they're whistleblowers. I didn't want to say it out loud because I would lose my job. But now they're coming out. And my favorite, Dr. Stephen Greer, has almost 1,000 whistleblowers from every line of the government saying, I saw one. I saw one. I saw one in person. I saw the ship. I saw the reverse engine. So the secret's out. Pluto
Yeah.
entered Aquarius. As soon as it entered, this entrance of ETs. At the same time, AI has arrived. Now, here's another mystery with Pluto and AI for the next 20 years. What will be the introduction of a new form of the human? AI, artificial intelligence, some new version that's way smarter than us. They've already proven it can win all the chess games. It can write music. It can make The AI is crazy. Have you worked with it at all?
Yeah, I'm starting to. It's so crazy.
I'm a little allergic to it, but because I'm old, but I know that young people are loving it. I mean,
Yeah.
I can hardly make this thing work, this computer here. I didn't have this when I was growing up, but I pretend.
I'm
I'm
analog.
almost,
Right, pen and
I'm
paper.
almost,
Read
I'm
the
almost
paper.
70. 70-year-old hands don't work on these things.
You do not look almost 70. That's
Doesn't matter how old I look. I'm telling you, I was here in the 80s. I was born in the 50s. So start there. So AI arrives, this new futuristic reality that requires button pushing and an entrance of a different version of the human operating system. And this is in my book. There is an introduction of us considering the 13th sign, which no one talks about. It's off the chart. And it's introducing another way of being, which is not limited to the illusion and the crazy pant reality that we all think is so stable. Happy birthday. We're on our way into a new era.
Thank God. I'm ready. I had a reading this week with an oracle who opens the Akashic records for all those woo out there. And she was like, your guides are telling you to be less human. Like we need you to like break out of this limitation. Just like twirl and do, because I'm so connected to like spirit and knowing and all of this stuff. So I'm ready to break through to that next level.
Wow, that's an interesting conversation. Break through the human. Good luck with that, but it's probably true
Yeah.
that it wouldn't surprise me looking at your chart that you wouldn't be a pioneer to bring in the freedom of not being bound. This is one of the, in the tarot deck, they call it the devil, that we get so bound by the human condition and what is normal and what is proper in relationships and sexuality and what is proper with money and how do you live this life and how do you eat. I mean, everything's being updated. We're hacking. I love that word. It wouldn't surprise me that, Kelly, you would be bringing in another updated version.
Yeah.
What's your documentary series going to be on?
It's going to be about teaching people about how we're designed, our nervous system, how it gets wired, how then that wiring determines our behavior and our thoughts and everything, and how we relate to people, and then how we magnetize relationships that then just mirror back to us where we're still in trauma and in that loop, and then how it relates to emotions and how your emotions are processed by different organ systems. So literally it's like the manual of how to be human and how to take control of the operating system rather than sit in the back of the Waymo car and let it drive you to wherever it goes because you're operating subconsciously from the nervous system's wiring. And so it's how to process, digest, and express emotion in a healthy way in real time so that we don't store it as trauma, just really understanding how we work so that people have the tools to really
Wow,
heal from that nervous system level.
that's so exciting. That's the new human.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's true what she said, the Akashic Records. I always like to think about that. I've never seen the Akashic Records, but as an astrologer, as a woo-woo person, I'm open to it. There's something written about me where they know like my report cards are all in one spot and they know how I did and they know what I need to learn in my next life and they're going to design a chart just for me. That's such a nice thought.
It is. It really is. I just love this stuff. And when it resonates, you're like, it's just confirming that you're just on the right track. And that to me is it feels truthful for me.
It's a very heartfelt reality to know that you're on the right track, you guys. So don't worry.
Yeah. So retrograde, 6 planets in retrograde. What does that mean for me? Like, I feel like I kind of thrive when Mercury's in retrograde. I'm like the opposite of people. I don't know.
Well, my sense of you is that there's this word recapitulation in the Tibetan practice, and it means somebody that brought back the memories of their last life. So in Tibetan Buddhism, when the Rinpoches die, do you know the story? They tell their attendant at their end of their deathbed, when they're 90 years old, they whisper to their attendant, I'm going to come back. And my parents will be in this city, and they'll have these names. And they tell, and then the person dies, the attendant fast forward 6, 10 years later, goes back to where that person said I'd be born, looks in that town for the parents that had those initials, takes the child from the parents when they finally figure out where the child's, puts them in front of a table where they have the skull cap that they wore, the spectacles they wore, the prayers, their mala, their prayer books, everything sitting on the table, but there's 6 of them that all look exactly the same. And the little child, there's a film done about this, picks up the skull cap, picks up the mala, picks up the spectacles and goes, this is all what you used in your last life. And it was right. Then they take the child to the Dalai Lama and they hand him over. The parents are both distraught, as you can imagine, but celebrating that the Rinpoche was reincarnated. That's called recapitulation.
Yeah.
What retrograde means is going backwards. And my feeling about you is that you've recapitulated, you've remembered so many of your past lives. You've come in with a very strong orientation on the inside without words, but a knowing when something's true, when you need to do something, when you get supported, when the angels, you trust so radically. And all the retrograde is a sign of somebody going backwards to recover what they left behind, to recapitulate and bring the wisdom into the now. Isn't that what your movie was about?
Yes. And everything that I talk about now is like healing is a remembering of our innate wholeness and like you said, at birthday, we're never really born. We never really die. Like, it's just this, yep, it's all.
Continuous movement. And when the ego mind is allowed to relax. This is my last chapter in my book. That's probably the part that I like the best, the 13th sign. It's where the mind, see what we do as astrologers, what I do for a living, I put words to people's psychology based on the stars. It's pretty abstract. I mean, I can see why people don't believe in it. It's crazy. The sun is 93 million miles away and I'm a full-born Gemini. Like, just because the sun was in Gemini? If you start, don't think too long about this because it gets confusing. That's why I don't believe in astrology. However, we jump over to the right brain, we enter the 13th sign where the mind is just one faculty. It's not the centerpiece of the universe. It's not any more important than my heart or my liver or my gallbladder or my vein. Like, this is a multiple team playing sport, but the mind just stuck its little head in and went, look at me. It's the ego. And so
Mm.
the whole book is about distinguishing the ego until you get, because of course, what are you going to do when you get the book? I guarantee it. You're going to open up to Aries. That's what I say in the book in the 13th sign. I know exactly what you did. I'm not psychic. It's obvious. You read your sun sign in this book. But the 13th chapter, the last chapter, it's not the 13th, the last chapter says, leave your mind behind, put your attention on your heart and your memory. Your body knows really truths. Like as soon as you and I met, it was so like giving you that first reading. It was so easy. Why? Because I resonate with your frequency. We are such similar energetics. And when you meet someone who reminds you of you, it's kind of sick. Well, you automatically fall in love with them.
Yes, I know. But as you're saying, every person I'm talking to, and this is, I don't know if it's the Aquarius thing or just it's time, but it's all about this next chapter, this next paradigm is all about dropping into the heart. Even in the nervous system regulation work that we're exploring with the platform we're building and the docuseries, it's getting the head is at the mercy actually of your nervous system, and we've got to drop below the brainstem and come down to the heart, which is where we can play with to regulate our nervous system. But we've got to get it to the heart. And, all these different spiritual teachers and people and experts that I'm talking to from all different disciplines, it's all roads lead to dropping into the heart for this
Where
next
would you
chapter.
rather be than in the center of Kelly's heart?
Ah,
Where would you rather be?
you're so sweet.
It's just true. Even the people you don't like, the ones whose hearts have had doors put up and they're locked down and they can't get into their heart because they live in their head. And in their head, they've justified their ego survival at all costs. They have a heart,
Mhm.
just been locked. It's just been covered up. It's
Really,
just
really
disregarded.
hard to remind myself of that sometimes with certain people lately. But yes, you're absolutely right. Exactly. They all have hearts.
Easy to remember. Yeah, I make a spiritual practice of keeping my attention on my heart because I'm a little sassy. Like I have a little bit of a bad kid in me. When I was young, I was a goody goody, but as I got older, I was like, that's dumb. So then I started saying things that aren't probably appropriate all the time. And I realized that as long as I'm coming out of my heart, I'm good to go. And that was my criteria. And that's really the book is written from my heart. There's certain parts of the I had to listen to this. I had to go in a little room like 2 weeks ago, a padded room with no light, like it was black. And I had to read the book out loud
The
for
audio.
6 hours a day.
Yeah.
And as I was reading the book, getting acquainted with my own work, and there were some parts I did bring out. I had a part that there's only a few parts in the book that I really genuinely felt my heart. Can I read you one?
Yes, please.
Falling in love with your fate is the only way out. This is the purpose of life. Pretend this is your job description. You can't wait to go to work. Your whole focus is going to change. I spent so many years overthinking. Debra Silverman drove me nuts. I can't believe I lived with her that long. And then one day I realized she's not going anywhere. And that if I didn't accept the fate that I'm super glued to her, I'd be miserable, and so would she. I'm such a Gemini.
Totally. By the way, all the important women in my life are Geminis. My two grandmothers, oh no, that's not right. One of my grandmothers, well, my mom and my daughter are Geminis. I guess that's the one. And then my husband slash ex-husband and my father are Pisces. So there's definitely like daddy issues and Gemini issues there somewhere. But um
My
speaking of
grandmother was
your
a Gemini too. I
Yeah.
love Geminis.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gemini.
Shout out to Geminis. Speaking of your heart, I just want to shout out to you. Snap decision, like we were speaking about something, I think, for one of your courses, and you learned that my library of books was burned in the fire, and you, without hesitation, like the next day, there was a giant box of books from your personal collection that you were just like, send her some books, restart the library. Like
It was this big.
that's just, it was giant. It was like you could fit like a, an overcoat hanging. So just thank you so much. It like moved me to tears. It was so generous, and that's just who you are. And you just like jump to action.
And I know what it's like when something is completely, as I lost, it's a sad story. I don't know if I told you this, my computer died. I guess it was a year ago because I gave my old computer to a friend and didn't know that if you go and undo the hard drive in the iCloud and don't tell a person,
Oh,
the entire system shuts down. And no matter where I went to recover it, and I hired the best, I couldn't. So I learned what it felt like to lose a lifetime of writing.
yeah. Oh,
And
man.
unfortunately, my son was home at the time, and I can't tell you how much I cried. And then my awareness came on, my observer, which is what the book is about, and I thought, let go.
Mm.
To your point at the very beginning, like this is burnt, it's gone, it's finished. And so now I have great compassion when I heard how much you loved your library.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So who is the, like, who did you write the book for? Who listening should read your book besides everybody? But what are you hoping to get with your book?
It's funny you ask. I think it's the people that don't believe in astrology, but they're hardly on these podcasts. That's a problem. It's a hard thing to reach that audience when they're not open to this. So I hope people that don't believe in astrology get. I like conversion is like one of my specialties. Then the next level, which is who you guys are listening, you've been flirting with it. You know your sun sign. Maybe you even know your rising sign, but you don't really know what it means, and you don't know its function. So if you're someone who's just thinking about spiritual awareness and you've been doing all the things, but the one trustworthy mothership who started this whole movie 4,000 years ago is astrology laced with wisdom. The tarot only started in the 15th century, but it is based on all astrology. The whole tarot deck's based on astrology. So any of you that are seeking, like there's so many, oh my God, we are living in a time, the Aquarian age, where there's so many teachers. And there's so many astrologers, and there's so many healers, and there's so many meditation classes, and there's so many yoga, and I could go on forever. Ayahuasca and Bufo and ashwagandha, and I don't even know all the words. There's so many words, and we never even said. My grandmother's sitting in the room going, I don't know what she's talking about. We're so far beyond. So when you're looking for the real goods, like where's the fast track that makes the difference? Astrology is a shorthand to give you back to yourself, and then you can go back and do all the rest. But if I don't know who I am, I like to speak in first person. When I finally got past not liking Debra Silverman because she bugged me, and she did bug me. I think she bugs a few people. Who cares at this point? As I turn into close to 70 in 2 years, I feel the relaxation inside of me that said, astrology gave me back permission to do like your life lessons Virgo, and you're a perfectionist and you're going to drive yourself crazy for the rest of your life thinking it should be better. My life lessons Sagittarius, I say shit. I have a problem, like a low grade Tourette's. I shouldn't even say that, but something's I say things that are wrong like that, and then it's funny, and then I get in trouble, and I finally realize, well, yeah, Deb, don't be so surprised. It's my life lesson is being really honest and blunt and funny. And your life lesson is perfection and details and not getting caught. They're not going to go away, but there's a high road. The book is about the high road and the low road. So the low road for Virgo is it makes you nervous and you can't sleep and it keeps you anxious.
Mhm.
High road is Virgo is you practice your practices. You're disciplined
Mhm.
and you know what it takes to calm your nervous system. You don't just read about it, you do it. The low road for Sagittarius is I say things inappropriately and I think it's funny and it's not. And the high road is I have discernment to realize, you know what, this is not the time to talk about that, Deb. And I listen to myself now. I've got an off button.
Beautiful. Amazing. And as we talk about your dual citizenship of Hawaii and Colorado and your love of nature. I am a fellow nature lover. It's so healing. I feel like the reason that we are so chronically ill is because we have denatured ourselves and our food and our environments and our cycles. We are out of sync with nature. So tell us about the elements and how you came to weave them so intricately through your work. I mean, obviously, elements are top of mind here in LA with the fires and then the rains and then the mudslides. We're getting all the elements like shoved down our throat right now. But yeah.
I wrote a book called The Missing Element. There's no astrology in it at all, not one word. And the book is simply about these four personality types. That's the first entrance. It's an ancient tool again, tried and true, brought to you by the American Indians, had the four directions. Here in Hawaii, we do the hula. We live for the four elements. In Egypt, their whole system of astrology was based on the four elements. And ancient Judaism and the Kabbalah, it's called the four worlds. The whole system's based on the four worlds. So this is very old, and it's necessary to your point. And once again, unfortunate for us, our mind forgot our heart. Because all the four elements are is you start the day with a prayer. It's water. You're so good at this. Like the element of water is depression when you lose the sacred. It's very sad to be here. If you're highly sensitive and you don't know how to self-regulate that sensitivity, it's overwhelming. That's water low. High water is Dalai Lama. He meditates for a living. He's a double Cancer.
Mm.
Low level air, the people that talk and study and do podcasts and listen to telepathy tapes and read all these books and scroll through the people that love listening to Kelly because she's such an information system, that low level of air is you get confused, overstimulated mentally, can't make a decision, can't stay in a relationship, don't even want to do a relationship anymore. Or on the other hand, you have so many relationships and you're poly and bi and I don't even know. There's so many labels for relationships now, I can't keep up, but there's this whole new dimension that's wonderful, except if the mind doesn't know how to come back to the heart and it runs amok because you're so interested, but you're confused. And so you're overstimulated, your nervous system will be affected. So the high road of air, believe it or not, is knowing how to meditate when you're bike riding. Knowing how to meditate, not by sitting still. Air people can't sit still, they wiggle. Water people can meditate. The way an air person regulates, get ready, is by talking.
Mm.
So you need to call your therapist or your best friend or someone.
I know those people. Yeah.
You know those people. They have to. I have my best friend of 40 years as a Gemini, and we talk so embarrassing. We talk every day.
It's
And her
amazing.
husband, and recently she was sitting at a table with her husband, they're in their 70s, and he said, I'd like to take 6 months off and not tell anyone where we are and just have some time alone. And then someone was sitting next to my friend and whispered, what are you going to do about Debra? And then he said, I'll give her the number. She can know where we are. I was like, oh, good, I'm safe. He
Ah.
likes me enough. But that friendship is air to me. It's how I breathe. That's
Mm.
air people. If you have earth and you've got the low level, you're compulsive about work. So you have shades of this. You work really hard, you're overly achieving, you've got this high ambition, you never feel like you're doing enough. It's the perfectionist. It's the part in you that feels like you're not producing enough. And Kelly's so successful and you're not. Comparisonitis is one of the problems of earth people. That's low level. The high level is they love to clean and do the dishes. They do it with a smile. They love to garden. They love to make work happen. They love to check things. This checking things off their list is sexy. They get off on it and they don't complain. The high level of earth is, I'd love to do that for you. I'd love to cook. I'd love to organize. Let me do a spreadsheet. You know what? You need a spreadsheet. And that's the heartfelt earth person as compared to, oh, why am I always the one doing everything? Why do I have to be I heard myself for the first time in many, many years say that the other day, and my observer kicked in and I was like, low level earth, Deb. I was like, sorry, I had a moment.
But it's so good to have this context, and we'll get into fire to complete the cycle, but to know that there's a low and a high and somewhere in between, and it's just all such good information for self-awareness.
Yeah, and that's what the book's about. It does low and high. It shows you the distinction. And then fire, this is Kelly and I, the low level fires, they're so excited about everything and they jump up and down and they start things and they don't finish. And they're like, got this unbelievable connection and everybody's having fun and we're going to go biking, then we're going to go swimming, and then we're going to, and meanwhile, they're exhausted and they get pissy and then they start to drink too much and eat too much and play too hard and spend too much. And they're like, where was the off button? Shoot, everybody loved it, but I'm exhausted. And
Yeah.
they go in extremes. And then they turn off completely and they get depressed and they end up in therapy and they hate politics and they scream at televisions during football games. Those people amaze me. They're sitting in front of a boob tube screaming. This is fire people screaming. It happened to me. I definitely got into football for a little while because of Aaron Rodgers. And I would, my observer would watch me. I was like, you are screaming at a television. I never
I
thought that would
love
happen.
football. I'm obsessed with football. I
Of
have it.
course, you're a fire sign.
Yeah, it's funny.
And the high road of fire is they use sacred medicine, they go on trips, they travel, they go into shamanic entrances, they tell the truth, they sing and they perform and they dance, all for one reason, to open our hearts, not to get themselves all applauded and feel their egos feel so important. It's because you're serving. Your fire came here to ignite us and to wake us up. And look how good you're doing.
Oh God, thank you.
It's just true. Don't let your Saturn and Virgo interrupt me. You're doing really, really well.
Thank you. Is it accurate if you have my chart there? You told me I have like no earth in my chart.
Well, that's the funniest part of your story because you have what's
Lots
called
of water and fire and no earth.
here, I'm just going to get your chart right now. That's not true. You have Earth. No, that wasn't true. Oh, yes, it is true. I was wrong. It's so funny. Something's been happening into my little brain. Yes, you have only one planet on Earth. We call that a singleton. It's as if you had none. So people get confused. You could have one planet and element, but nothing else was relating to it. So it's standing all by itself, and that's you. So yes, but the indirect access you have to Earth is your sun is in the house of Capricorn, which is when you take our school, the simple information, this one piece of information, and you can write this down for those of you studying astrology, and it's in my book. Whatever house the sun falls in, that big ball of fire, the part of the sky that it's in, what it lights up in the name of astrology, describes the theme of your life. And yours lands in the 10th house, which is the house of Capricorn. So that means your ambition and fame was built into your chart. I'm sure at a very young age you got recognized for being excellent at something. Did that
I
happen?
I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be, which I was early on. And then I was on 3 varsity sports, but I say that I'm like good at everything and not excellent at anything.
That's your Saturn in Virgo. Would you be quiet, Virgo? You're talking to Kelly. Yes, you're good at a lot of things. I don't want to hear the excellent part. You're very, see, that's a classical Earth symptom. So when you don't have Earth, you get fixated on Earth for either the high road, you workaholic, crazy person, or the low road, I'm lazy and I don't want to do a thing. That would not be you.
Yeah.
So you'll learn this. That's in the first book, The Missing Element. Just understanding your element is so much medicine because of the ancient nature of the elders handing us this wisdom. But on the other side, studying astrology and finding out what house is your sun in. You know, I'm like, this is what's so funny about me. My son's in the 8th house of Scorpio. So I look like a Gemini, blah, 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 blah. But actually, I'm not very social because I'm a Scorpio. I don't even want to be around people unless it's deep and meaningful.
Mm.
Yeah, last night I had a party. I invited all my friends to it and I didn't go.
Oh my God. You're like, nope, not in the mood.
Second time I did that. They all got together at this place for a restaurant. I organized the whole thing. And then my 8th house was like, can't go.
Good.
And
You're
that's
honoring yourself.
and that's the grown-up thing, you guys. You now have permission, everyone listening, if you stayed this long, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. I don't like to socialize. It took me, you know how long that took for me to figure out?
Yeah. And you probably beat yourself up because you thought you should
I
socialize.
was like, I had anxiety. That's what anxiety is. It was a clue that I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, but I didn't have freedom to say no. I'd go to a party and I was like, I could look for one person that looked really interesting and Velcro, stick myself on them. And then as soon as the conversation finished, yeah, that's what I do. I sneak away when no one's looking.
I feel like that's one of my biggest conflicts is because I don't want to miss out on anything. I'm very social and but then I'm also like a projector and I need like a lot of rest and empty space,
Sunshine
imaginative.
and water. You have
Yeah.
water
I
needs.
need a lot of like solitude time. And I don't give myself that. And that's why I get burnt out.
So this is so good to know. That's your fire and water in conflict.
Mhm.
Fire and water don't get along. Your sun sign, your ego's fire, but your soul is water.
I feel that.
You should watch this podcast after. I gave you a lot of advice.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, Relationships. I know a lot of people look to astrology like, are we compatible? What, I know there's like a difference. Can you like maybe there's Western astrology and there's Vedic astrology and there's someone told me that like my wavelength score with my husband was like minimal, like of course it wasn't going to last because the wavelength score was too small. Like how do you work with
Wow. Wow.
relationships?
You have such interesting access, you're Aries. You're such a pioneer in getting all these interesting sources. Astrology, it's a funny game with astrology and compatibility. People that are the same signs and have a similar chart get along best. I hate to say it, but when you're similar and your frequencies matching, and the two little Geminis want to go off and play and they're moving at the speed of light, that's easy. Or the two little Pisces want to stay home and watch Netflix and not go out, that's really easy. It's a difference in character that matches the other. So that's number one. Number two is opposites attract. It's a chemistry game. We're attracted to the people that aren't like us. And so be careful because you want to really pay attention. Do you want them to change? Or are you really celebrating how different they are? Because they're not going dancing with you.
That makes sense. Um, so okay, where like how did you get it? Do you have a story of how did you come up? You've been doing this for 50 years. I mean, how did this start? I want to know a little bit more about Deborah,
I was just very little. Listen, like you, I think we're similar this way too. And this is not true of the people listening. It's a rare person. Some people's destiny shows up very young. So they're a singer, or they're a painter, or they're an artist, or they're a computer wizard. It shows up so young, or they're fascinated by spirituality, or they find astrology in the Detroit comic. In the Detroit comics on Sunday, I open up the newspaper. I'm 10 years old, and I see the word astrology and I light up like a Christmas tree. That's honestly where it started. It's embarrassing. I had my destiny line very activated, and by the time I was 19, funny story, I found astrology in the backseat of a car. That just sounds wrong. I drove from Toronto to Alberta in Canada with a woman who was a triple Gemini, and she was an astrologer, and she was the first person to do my reading. And someone needed to drive with her because she had to go to another part of Canada. I said, I'll go in the car with you under one condition. Teach me what you did the other day when you did that astrology reading. I want to learn. She goes, okay. So for 3 days, we were in the car. There's a whole back seat, honestly, of all the astrology books, because she was an astrologer. By the second day, she was like, Deborah, there's a whole bunch of books in the back. Can you stop asking questions? I was like, oh, no, no. And I just kept writing these notes, writing these notes, writing this. By the third day, I finished the book that I had the houses, the planets, the signs, the aspects. I got it all auditory. And that was my teacher. I've never had a teacher. Don't tell anyone.
That's incredible. And
That's
then
called recapitulation. I remembered astrology, just like some of you. There's people in this room that had learned it. Like I'm sure that your relationship with Ayurvedic and the ancient wisdom sources and the text, you have such a clear, all those retrogrades, you have a very strong memory. And so did I about astrology. That's about it. I can't remember what day it is, where my purse is. I don't know where my phone is.
totally. I just know that there's so many knowings in me that I've had since a little girl. And like my favorite subject in school was pre-Columbian civilization art. And like I remember writing a book on Stonewall and the Aztecs when I was in like third grade. No, I'm sorry. It was like sixth grade. Like just weird stuff. Like, why would I be drawn to this civilization and culture? And I remember like Teotihuacan. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but the pyramids were lined up with the stars, which is similar. And it's like, why am I fascinated in this stuff? It's clearly past lifey stuff.
That's what six planets in retrograde is.
Yeah. And what is your take, just because I love the spiritual conversation, what's your take on like free will and manifestation? So there's like stars, there's destiny, and then there's also like exercising free will. And like the more we expand our consciousness, the more we can play with what we co-create with life. What is your take?
I'd love to hear your opinion having six planets retrograde. I'm going to just say, as an astrologer, in no uncertain terms, you've got very limited free will. I hate to tell you this.
No, I love this take. I love that.
Only free will you have is in your head. As soon as you find your observer, which is all that my book is about, all my life's work is, and you turn on your observer. There's choice. That's the whole point of astrology. Like, oh, I talk a lot, said the Gemini. Well, I better learn to listen. So I inserted listen into my computer. I got really good at it. You get to change the subtleties, but you cannot change the husband you were going to marry, the kid you were going to have, the dad you were going to have, the size of your little outfits, your body, your shoe type, your body type. All that was written. Sorry.
I love that though. So then the free will, the observer, the choice, the consciousness, the level of consciousness through which you navigate life, that can determine how much you suffer or thrive based on your resistance to what is written and I think that's a brilliant way to look at it.
You got it. And the 13th sign, the very last chapter, is about the place where we stop using the old operating system in the mind and we really start operating out of the heart. And then it's not even a choice. Then every day comes and all I do is prayer in the morning is Spirit, use me. That's my constant prayer. I'm here to be of service. How can I be of service? And that simple, innocent request, they have a lot of jobs for me.
Yeah.
I got to stop saying it. If you just say every day when you wake up in the morning, how can I be of service? And you got to do your own work. Let's start there. If your emotional body, water, if your mind, air, if your practical money issues, earth, if your fun factor, fire, is not operative, any one of those is down. It's like four wheels in a car. The system goes off and it's really hard to get really honestly spiritual. Maybe you meditate sometimes. Maybe you did an ayahuasca journey. Maybe you went off and you read the books, but is it actually embodied? And that's the honesty. And you'll know it is. That's the first job when you can wake up in the morning and start your day with a prayer. Let me be of use today. How can I be of service? And then be prepared because when the angels see a really ready, available soul, they kind of like that.
Yeah, it's true. You set the intention, you invite the guidance in, and then the signs and the synchronicities and the right answers and the right people start coming. And that's kind of I guess that was the next question. It's like, I'm in this period. Of course, I have these up and down days, and maybe it's all tied to astrology, but I feel like in the past couple weeks, just like stuff has finally like opened up, and maybe it's like a March 1st astrological shift thing.
Can I just tell you something?
Yeah.
Your progressed moon just changed.
What is that?
I'm not going to tell. You guys come take the school. It's twice a year in September, in January, 6 weeks, and you get to learn your chart. But I'll give you the short answer.
Okay.
You've just made a major change, and it's going to bring you in to a very calm. You have to increase your meditation, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You're in a very deep entrance into power, but it requires everything about your chart screams, we can talk after the show, focus.
Yeah.
Focus, Dennison. Why? Because they trusted you, because they handed you these incredible gifts. And we all know Kelly is an absolute shining, bright light. Like, it was so easy for me to send you those books. And that's why, see, that's my point. If you're in service, if I'm in service every day, you wouldn't believe the magic that comes in the mail.
It just feels so magical. Like another book, your book just like cracked me up, and so many magical things are happening. And that's like whatever the progress moon thing shifted, it's like synchronicity after synchronicity, miracle after miracle, just like heart opening thing that the people that are coming into my life, it's just like, it is like clear guidance. Like, yeah, that's a no, that's a yes. It's so wild. It's such a wonderful place to be. I'm so pumped, but
you can see it's all over your field. It's just so shiny right now.
It's so crazy. Like, you sent me those books, and then I got this email on, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, from Wayne Dyer's daughter, Serena, who I've had on my podcast. And I like, Wayne Dyer was such a love and a mentor, and he was meant to be in Heal, and then he passed away. So I've always like toyed with like Wayne being around. And she said, I heard your podcast. I've been waiting to reach out. I've wanted to do something to help. And when I heard your podcast about your books being burned, I felt this nudge from my dad. And he said like, send her mine. So she said, my dad had these signed books in his house, his personal house, that he had not sent to anybody yet. And I'd love to send you his signed books. And I was like, oh God, like that to me is a miracle. That is just like such a gift from the universe too. Like the box from you, the box from Serena. And
I'm glad I'm in good company with Wayne Dyer.
Yes. So I don't know. I guess my question is like I'm also doing all the somatic healing work, but it's it's the stars that then guide us to the right people, and then you do the work on yourself, and everything just starts to open up in divine timing, I guess.
And that is the progressed moon entering water. There's a flow.
Yeah.
And if you're comfortable, so all of you, your progressed moons are all somewhere. It's a free thing on my website. I give that away, how to find it. It's part of our school, but it is a very strong marker for knowing what season you're in. And it only changes every 2.5 years. And yours just changed in the last 3 months.
Oh, it feels like it. It's been a gnarly 2 years, so that makes sense. Yay! Then I'd like to say about your courses and classes, like Aaron Rodgers, Julianne Hough, all these people that you've worked with, they've like actually taken your courses, not because they want to be an astrologer.
Annika Patrick took level 1 and 2.
Danica. So it's because they're all three of them are deeply spiritual seekers. And so they're trying to learn more deeply about themselves so they can kind of guide themselves or understand themselves on a deeper level. So for people listening, like maybe astrology is really resonating as far as like, oh, maybe I should explore that because that feels like maybe it's my life's purpose. And also, or I just want to know about myself so I can understand this better so I can navigate life in a more kind of conscious, grounded way, So tell us a little bit about what you
It
offer.
happens twice a year in September and in January. So otherwise, you can get on a waiting list. There's a waiting list because it sells out. And there's just 10 people in a room with a mentor and you study the first one is your chart. Like what house is my son in? And where's my progressed moon? Like all the very small bite-sized bits. It's not, I have dyslexia and I had a learning disability as a kid. So I built the whole program for many modalities. So some of you are going to hear it audio and some of you are going to hear it visual and some of you are going to feel it kinesthetically. We make you be creative. And I used all the modalities so that people could learn and have fun. It's not one of those intellectual, and it's all about your chart. And then at the end of level 1, if that was enough, because it changes people's lives, then level 2 is more the nuts and the bolts. And that's where you go. And then level 3 is if you want to be an astrologer when you grow up. And it happens all within a period of 3 months, the whole thing. It's not long.
Amazing. Well, I got to learn level 1 at least because I've gotten this far. I better like deepen my knowing, or
Especially
remembering.
Yes, you're remembering with those 6 planets in retrograde. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
That's my other astrologer said. She's like, I've never seen this. This is crazy. So yeah, now it makes sense. So start with the book, guys. Get the book, I Don't Believe in Astrology. Start to learn about yourself. And then if you want to dive deeper, sign up for the course. I love it. I can't wait to read it. And where can people find you? What else?
Well, guess what? I don't know when we're airing this, but I'm going to be in LA. I'm going to be in LA on April 8th and 9th. That's the day the book is born. It's an Aries.
Okay. See?
Oh my goodness. That's good for us to know. And then I'm going to be in Denver in the middle of April. And then I'm going to be in Austin. I don't know. You have to go to my website.
Okay. Well, we'll meet up when you're in LA for sure.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I didn't even realize to this very second you're in LA. You're in LA.
Yeah, we'll be moved into our new rental by then. We're still hotel hopping, but yeah. So exciting times.
Anyway, and you guys, of course, there's everything from TikTok, it's embarrassing, to Instagram, to Facebook, to YouTube. And if you're interested, you are being answered a prayer right now in this interview that, oh, I wondered what the mechanism or the technology would be that would help me fall in love with me. That's what you're looking for, to really do what I read you, to stop getting mad at Debra Silverman for being Debra Silverman, but use your name. Then come study with us. Come read the book.
That is the key to healing, is coming back to yourself and falling in love with you and the full acceptance of this life experience that you have chosen and stepped into. And that is key. So here, first step. I love it. Read your book. Thanks for listening, you guys. And Debra, thanks for being you, this dynamic light and force for good in the world and helping people come back to themselves and fall in love with themselves.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Such great work you're doing.
Thank you for listening to the Heal with Kelly podcast. Be sure to tune in every Thursday for more empowering wisdom and inspiring healing stories. And make sure you hit the follow button on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss that one episode that holds the answer you've been searching for. Oh, and if you found this episode inspiring, please rate, review, and share Heal with Kelly so that we can grow our audience and reach more people. We truly appreciate it. Lots of love.